What's up, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of In the Wild. This is our last episode of the semester, womp womp, but don't worry, we'll be back in January to talk to you guys about some more stuff. It's always the good stuff. This semester has been great. I've really enjoyed all the cool things that have happened to me this semester, and I can't wait to catch up with y'all in 2025. And for today, we really have a cool episode in store for you because we're going to talk about just the landscape of education a little bit, because it's changing, like with technology advancing, and just as we continue to grow as a university, the way we teach and train our students is going to be different. So today we have some really cool guests. I'm talking to them on the podcast for the first time. So first is Dr. Quentin Davis. She is the director for the Center of Undergraduate Research and Scholarship, CURS. And then we have Mr. Jeff Mastromonico, who is the director for Instructional Innovation. And both of them, they work with our students. Dr. Davis works with our students. Jeff works with faculty primarily. And they really kind of help inspire all of us to be creative, ambitious, and they take some of the best ideas and they help our students and faculty put them to work. So I'm really excited to talk to them to see about the cool things that are happening here at the university from the student and faculty perspective, because I feel like our university is really at the forefront of so many groundbreaking changes, all this innovation that's happening at the university. And so we're going to have that conversation with them. So I hope you guys are ready, because here we go. Welcome, you guys, to In the Wild. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Davis, Jeff. Excited to have you both because it's your first time on the show. But I guess, starting with you, Dr. Davis, do you mind just giving a little introduction of yourself and, I guess, the role that you serve here at AU?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So my name is Quentin Davis, and I serve as the director for the Center for Undergraduate Research and Scholarship, which is a mouthful. And so we go by CURS usually, C-U-R-S, and I direct that full time, although my department home is in psychology. So I'm a faculty member there as well.
What about you, Jeff?
I'm Jeff Mastromonico. I'm the director of Instructional Innovation for the Center of Instructional Innovation. So I'm one of 3 units as a part of CII, and my unit does a lot of multimedia development, video production, gamification, and game-based learning.
This is really cool stuff. Like, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about our, I guess, theme for today. But before we dive into that, I'm curious as how did you both kind of land into your roles? Like, did you always want to go into undergraduate research?
No, I had no idea that was even a job, and it probably wasn't a job when I was in college. I did do undergraduate research as an undergraduate, so at my college, which was a very small institution, every single student did research.
Oh, wow.
So we had to do a year-long project, much like what the students in our honors program do here, but everybody did it there. So I knew about it, but I had no idea I was going to come full circle and then be able to help other students one day find a mentor for their research. But I've been in the psychology department, psychological sciences, for about 15 years or so, and then the position of director, a full-time director for CURS, came open, and I was very elated to be the first full-time director. So I've been doing this for now about 5 years.
So I have a background in educational technology, and I actually came here from another institution where I was at for 10 years, was at USC Aiken doing multimedia development and graphic design, and then came over here to MCG at the time, working in app development. They were just developing apps for students on iPhones and Blackberries at the time.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so it's, that was about 15 years ago. And then Dr. Kelleher decided he was, so I made a transition from that department to when Dr. Kelleher was putting together the Center for Instructional Innovation, where he wanted to put together a team that was helping to enhance instruction. And so we've just grown from there.
So you guys get to look at a lot of the, I guess, educational landscape for the university. So I'm curious to learn from you guys of what would you say are some of the just current innovative things that the university provides our students?
Well, in CII we have 3 different units. We have teaching and learning, instructional technology, and then instructional innovation. So we all are working together. Teaching and learning, they'll work with faculty through like professional development. They offer hybrid and online course support, and identify ways to assist faculty from a pedagogical point of view. And instructional innovation, we're working to enhance instruction by creating multimedia and gamification and game-based learning, which is the thing that I do to help enhance that instruction. And then instructional systems, the deployment, they'll take all those things that we've helped to create and help faculty utilize them in the LMS, or provide support for any of the educational technologies that they're using. So through that, we're hoping to really offer a good experience for the students by working with the faculty to enhance their instruction.
Yeah. So a lot of our work, I think, overlaps a lot. We see faculty who, I think one of the people that you've worked with is, for example, a French instructor who uses games in her work. And so something that you might not necessarily think that, in a French class, I'm going to be playing a game. But we see that all sorts of role plays and games are pretty big right now, and really making the students feel a part of the learning and not just a passive kind of vessel from which to absorb knowledge, but really to be able to take part in that as their instructor is teaching and guiding, and they're maybe making mistakes along the way, and maybe that's in musical composition or in French or in cyber and coding, for example. So there's lots of many more hands-on experiences that I think our faculty are using across all of our colleges. It looks really different from one college to another. We also have a simulation center that is part of our division of instruction as well. And that serves many of our students, from professional students to medical students to undergraduates, so that they can really have that experience of working with a patient, so to speak, but it's not a live patient. So no harm, no foul. They can make mistakes, and it's just a wonderful place that they can really put those skills to use and then determine where their gaps are. So that hands-on learning is just really incredible.
Yeah, I definitely think that hands-on learning makes a difference, especially depending on some of the fields where they have to be hands-on for their work. And Jeff and I were talking earlier about the Sim Center and some of the, mannequins. I'm not sure if that's the... Yeah, the mannequins. Because I remember I had a tour there like a while ago, and we had experienced one of the mannequins giving birth, which was like a very interesting experience because like the mannequins, as you guys know, like they can have an instructor talk, like using their voice and having, the mannequin speak to you. And they're like having a nurse say like, oh, there's so many centimeters dilated and this is what you need to do now. And it was really, even though obviously I'm not in medicine and definitely don't help with childbirth at any extent, but yeah, seeing that was like, oh wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it really lets you see kind of how far we've come with technology and what you can do when you've got creative minds that can push kind of what students experience with very little harm, very little problem, and making those mistakes that we all need in order to learn and hone our craft.
Is there any piece of technology or experience that y'all see that makes you wish like, oh, I wish they had this when I was an undergrad, or I wish they had this, earlier on. Like, where was this one?
Oh, the blank.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's so many.
Well, I mean, I think when I was in school, there was no internet or any of those type of things, so the access to that type of information, and I even think in the past, handful of years, just the ability to, connect, virtually whether it be like through Teams or, having all online courses and being able to have, really good dialogue, in online classes and things like that didn't exist, So I think that there are those opportunities, just for better connection. I mean, I think you'll never replace like face-to-face and things like that, but having the opportunities to create all these digital assets and things like that. We're learning about multimedia instruction. Words alone don't do it, but when you have words and pictures or words and visuals like video production, or if you are able to kind of implement some kind of game-based learning, that it just kind of creates a richer connection for students. And so I definitely wish that type of thing was around, when I was in school.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, and I think it's kind of, as you're talking, I'm thinking about the difference in professors, say when we were in school, and you're younger than I am, but even before that, there's you remember, and you can identify, I'm sure all of us can, those professors that brought their content to life, however they did it, whether they were more theatrical or they used examples that were real world examples to kind of let you imagine what it was that they had experienced in psychology. That's a wonderful tool. And so it's kind of like we're now at the next level, right? So you have these other digital tools and ways that we can, in some cases, take field trips or go out of our normal university environment, out of the classroom, and really have some of that rich, robust learning that you see that happens. It's a little more messy. But then there's things like, undergraduate research that has been happening with faculty and students for hundreds of years, right? So they've been including students along the way. The apprentice model is nothing new, but it continues to be a really rich model for learning.
And you brought up a good point, Jeff, with online learning. Like, do you kind of play, like, how does that kind of works with your neck of the woods? And I guess for you as well, Dr. Davis.
That's mostly him.
Well, we do a lot of work, providing some support for asynchronous and synchronous courses. My unit will develop multimedia assets that are used a lot in the learning management system. And sometimes if a faculty is trying to get a concept through to the students that maybe they're having trouble grabbing onto, we'll help develop a video and things like that, and they'll present it to the LMS if it's a course that's online, or even if it's not online. Sometimes they have their courses running through D2L. Same for game-based learning. There have been a lot of simulations and things that we've kind of created, just that when there are concepts that students are struggling with, a lot of time incorporating games or the aspects of games just kind of creates a better connection for them, and so we'll use those as a part of an online implementation of a course. So,
has there been any games or projects that you've been a part of that you just thought were really cool?
Well, the latest one that we have worked on, we got to work with a lot of the disciplines in allied health as a part of Interprofessional Education Day, and this was actually a live escape room that we've done. We did it a couple years, and I'm not sure if they're planning on doing it again, but it was to teach students from different disciplines on how to work together, as well as teach them about patient-centered care. And so it was a live escape room in which they had to solve all these clues, reading about a patient's story, and get out in an hour. And there was actually like a 50% success rate. So some students didn't get out, and so there was a reflection afterward as to, okay, what was it about what you did that you weren't able? Were you not listening to each other? Did you pay more attention maybe to their chart instead of the patient-centered care is about listening to the patient and listening to their story? And so that was a real successful implementation of just kind of creating a richer experience. They could have sat through a lecture on interprofessional education, but instead they actually kind of experienced what it was like to work with others, and adding a time limit and puzzles and things like that kind of made it, just a better experience.
That does sound really cool.
Yeah.
And you said you did it for how many times now?
We had done it 2 years, 2 years in a row, and so I'm not sure if they're planning to implement it again, but it was successful the past 2 years that we did it.
And I think one of the things that you're hitting on, Jeff, is so important, which is that, a lot of times you hear the word game and you think, oh, well, that's going to be light. It's not going to be difficult for the students or challenging enough to really teach them those skills. But if you have a 50% success rate, it doesn't sound very good maybe at the outset, but what that says to me is that there was enough challenge to really push the students, and that it's truly a learning experience. And with that reflection afterwards, they can go back and see where they could have improved that process.
And it was the reflection that makes it a meaningful learning experience, because they're sitting there together discussing, exactly why it was that maybe they didn't make it out, or what did they learn from it. And so, there are a lot of people that hear gamification or game-based learning and think, oh, it's just having fun, and don't realize that, if you implement it the right way, and it's not even, big games or things that you have, but even if you just utilize, it's all about motivation and being engaging. So even if you use something like badges that you would maybe normally earn in a game, that can be a motivator for students to learn certain skills, and it pushes mastery over just performance, over just memorizing things, and even changing the way you grade it. If you grade instead of everybody starting at 100 and losing points, like in a game, if you're earning points, sometimes that can be a motivator. So it's just kind of incorporating those type of elements into your curriculum that can just make things more engaging, more motivating, and that's kind of what that's about.
How do you, I guess, get faculty on board to be a little bit more innovative?
It's difficult sometimes if they don't know how to think outside the box. But a lot of times we have faculty coming to us, and that's what they're looking for. Sometimes they come with ideas of their own, and sometimes that we'll just work together with them to kind of look at what they're. It still all has to start with learning objectives, and making sure that we're meeting those, because if the learning's not happening, it's just kind of fluff. And having multimedia or bells and whistles for bells and whistles sake. But we'll work with them to see, okay, what's maybe a more engaging or creative way to try to get this concept along. We've done digital escape rooms. We had a faculty member in physics who wanted to kind of reinforce some of the things that he was lecturing about in his course. And so we had this digital escape room where they're trying to escape from the science building when the science building was over here. But they had to use physics puzzles and things in order to get out. And so they were, just reinforcing those concepts and things that they had learned in class. And so just using digital tools like that, or even, face-to-face tools like in the example of the escape room, really just kind of makes a deeper connection with students.
And I guess switching over to you, Dr. Davis, how do you, I guess, encourage students to think innovatively when they're thinking of a research project? They have an idea, and I guess how do you help them elevate that to?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll start with kind of the opposite side of that question, which is that at AU, many of our students don't even have to have their own idea. And while that can be very motivating and exciting, it's also intimidating for a lot of students to think that, well, to do undergraduate research, I've got to have this whole fleshed out idea, and I need to know what I'm doing, and I need to know all the research design and all of that. But in most cases, we have students first learn what a mentor is doing, and learning from that mentor who already has a project set up, already has goals for that project, and research questions that they are trying to answer, and a methodology that has been, really vetted as to make sure that it's a valid tool for whatever it is that they're trying to discover or research. And so many times for our undergraduates, they are first learning under the mentorship of someone else. Now, then we also have students who, especially our more advanced students, juniors, seniors, that might have their own idea, especially after they've been in that process for a little bit. And they start to really understand the content and see where gaps are in knowledge that they could help maybe answer a question, solve a problem. And then that sort of comes naturally because they get excited about what they're learning. They see changes, they see progress. They get frustrated and want to know why this didn't happen the way they thought it was. And that in and of itself is just fun to get in there and try to solve problems yourself. And so usually that motivation just sort of develops on its own once students are involved in this. So we rarely have difficulty getting students interested. On the other hand, we do have students who come in and say, hey, I have this idea. I'm curious about X, Y, or Z, and then we can sometimes pair them with a faculty member who has some expertise in that area and say, go talk with them. You might be able to do an independent study where they can help you outline the question that you are really trying to ask and find a way to study that.
And I'm sure this is like a really softball question for you, but for those who may not be familiar with research or just, I guess, curious, what would you say overall is like the benefit of doing undergraduate research at this point in time in their like undergraduate careers?
Okay, how long do we have here? So no, there's a lot of benefits. One of the main benefits that I think is truly self-confidence. And so we have students who come in and they're scared. And I'm just coming up, we just finished our Summer Scholars Program, which is a 9-week program for faculty and students who are working together on some research project. And the teams are usually maybe one-on-one, or sometimes there's one faculty member and 2 or 3 students on a team. And many of these students, this year, for example, we had a pretty good number of folks that were coming out of their freshman year, rising sophomores, and so that's pretty young, right? They've just transitioned, just had their first year of college under their belt, and they leave our program and just feel so much more confident in their ability to ask questions, to read literature that is at a professional level. That's really not all that common, especially at a sophomore or junior level. And so they're getting a lot of skills that are academically oriented, but will also translate into whatever career path they're going to go into. So problem solving and critical thinking and thinking on your feet and working to solve a problem with a team. Those are things that you can do in any career. And so it's really a misconception that students should want to be in a research career if they're going to go into undergraduate research. But really, it's a wonderful experience, even if it's for 1 year, just to kind of understand and grow through that mentorship.
And I guess what is it like for you as the director to see, students as early as like their freshman year wanting to do research and being able to have those experiences that you just mentioned? What is that like for you to see?
It's very exciting. Sometimes I had to tell them, first figure out, where your classes are and then go talk to them. But, we do have a lot of very eager and very talented students, and kind of getting them into that role as a junior player and a team. Is so important, and that's where they really find a community. And again, the mentorship I just can't speak enough about, because they'll end up having 4, 5, 6, hopefully 10 mentors throughout their college career here. And they don't know that yet, but that's what I get excited about. And so I know that they're going to have these relationships that they have no idea are going to help them determine what their career is or what it's not going to be. Sometimes that's even just as important. Is I thought I wanted to do this, and now I know I really don't like that. So those relationships are really fantastic and drive kind of all the other pieces.
Yeah, and I definitely think those are always like great experiences to have, of not only finding the things that you love, but also experience something you're like, I know this is not for me. Like I tried it, I gave it my all, and I knew I want to shift gears a little bit, or I want
so
to.
valuable.
Yeah. Well, I'm enjoying the conversation so far. Y'all watching, stay tuned, 'cause we'll be right back with some more from these guys.
Hello, my name is Susan Davies, and I'm your Vice President for Enrollment and Student Affairs. I'm so delighted that I get to talk with you today about 4 to Finish. These are 4 aspects that we want you to incorporate into your life here at Augusta University in order to be successful. We feel like if you incorporate 4 to Finish, that you will be happier with your Augusta University experience and that you'll graduate on time. So what is 4 to Finish? Number 1, engage. We want you to engage both inside and outside of the classroom. Join a club or organization, speak with your faculty member after class, engage in undergraduate research. Number 2, we want you to make purposeful choices. Make purposeful choices about how you spend your time, about your major, and even about who you study with. Make purposeful choices. 3 is to develop your academic mindset. We want you to come into college and to be a student here at Augusta University with a growth mindset, with a mindset that allows for you to learn from others and to bounce back easily from mistakes. And number 4 is to follow your program pathway. This means following your curriculum in order to graduate on time, but it also means thinking about what you want to incorporate into your academic program to make it even more holistic for you. That might include an internship or student leadership. When you graduate from Augusta University, we want you to graduate with your degree in one hand and a career plan in the other. And 4 to Finish will get you there.
And we're back. So we were just kind of talking about the impact that some of your areas had, and I guess kind of looking ahead and just looking, or speaking more broadly, like what trends do you guys see just shaping the future of like learning, whether it be with undergraduate research or just instruction innovation? Like what future trends do y'all forecast or see?
Yeah, I mean, I think of 2 answers
Okay.
at the outset. One is continued and enhanced experiential learning. Excuse me. And so, you know, all the things that we've been talking about where the students are hands-on learning, I think that you're going to see a lot more of that because I think the faculty get very excited. You can get into a rut if you're teaching the same thing year after year, and so I think that that's fun and meaningful, and it gives purpose to everybody that's engaged, whether that's just the students and the faculty or students, faculty, and a community partner, what have you. So I really think that there will be a lot more like well-rounded and hands-on activities. We see a lot of it now, but I think there will be a lot more to come. The other area that I see that's already blowing up is AI. Right? So there's no stopping it. This train has left, you know, and you better jump on board or get left behind. And so I think that how students learn, how they write, how they produce papers, everything, we're going to have to learn how to do this ethically and responsibly. And we're all kind of in the same boat. It's kind of like COVID, but in a good way, right? So we're all learning this brand new technology that is moving very quickly and has a lot to offer. There's so much that I think we will be able to do that we don't even know yet. And so that's really exciting. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know that that's going to be part of it.
Yeah, I think that, you know, traditional, I think where we are now and what students are expecting, traditional lecture is just not going to be seen as effective. I think there are those expectations to have those experiences, whether they're, you know, going on field trips outside the classroom, you know, having a more place-based curriculum where you're involved in community service or things like that, or just having more engagement and motivation in your class. I think that, you know, incorporating technology and things like that, I think is not the requirement, but more the expectation now than it was before when we were in school and things like that. And you know, also AI, I think it's just a matter of learning how to I think to come to terms with that it is a tool that can be used, whether it's with, you know, students, you know, finding out how you can utilize it for student benefit in the classroom, or, you know, faculty, you know, learning how to use it as a time saver and a tool for them, help them to develop learning objectives, help them to design their course. You know, there's all kinds of things that you can do with AI. I think it's just a matter of embracing it and just kind of learning what we're going to be able to do with it.
I've been using AI a little bit, and for the small things I use it for, it has made a tremendous difference in my life. So I'm all for using AI ethically, like you mentioned. But also, I'm not sure if I told you guys that I'll be, or that I am, teaching a podcasting course to students. So I'm also curious, like, do you have any tips for, I guess, a new adjunct of how to be, I guess, innovative and staying on top of it?
That's a good question. I did not expect that question. I mean, first and foremost, I think organization and fun. You know, those are your top two goals at the end of the day. And the content, we've been talking a lot about this hands-on and hands-on information and learning is, I think, the way of the future. We're already there, really. But, you know, content is important. And it's never going to go away. That, you know, there's never going to be a substitute for knowledge. That will still be the deciding factor between two people who are competing for a job or something like that. So you've really got to know your stuff. And teaching students those basic skills first, I think, is great. But having fun doing so, I think, will make that a great experience.
Yeah, because I definitely want to make my course as fun as possible, because if I don't enjoy teaching it, then they're not going to enjoy learning it. What about you, Jeff? Do you have any advice for me?
I mean, I would echo what Dr. Davis said. I think, you know, just having fun, creating engagement, and, you know, that may mean, you know, working them in teams, you know, as a part of your curriculum. It may mean giving them some buy-in as to what they cover, what you talk about, and things like that. And so then maybe they feel that they have some buy-in into the content that they're learning. But yeah, I think podcasting, I think that's going to be a pretty easy sell for folks. I think it's just topical.
Yeah,
that's going to be really interesting. I'm excited for that. That's going to be a great course.
Yeah. One of the things that you may have heard of this type of pedagogy, which is transparency in teaching and learning, or TILT, or learning and teaching, TILT, is letting the students know, not just have buy-in, but I totally agree with that. If they have buy-in into the project, that's great. And then also if they have buy-in in the sense that they understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Not just, I've got to check a box and because, you know, I was told to, and the students don't like that. They get very, very angry. Most of us do. We don't like to do things just because we're jumping through a hoop and there's no real purpose in that. So when they understand the purpose of an assignment and they understand what they're supposed to come out the other side knowing or being able to do, then they have a greater sense of confidence, I think, even going in. Otherwise, it's easy to check out and to kind of say, this isn't all that important.
They don't understand what the purpose is.
He doesn't really care, you know. So
Yeah, because not too long ago I finished or completed my master's degree, and every now and then, like, we would have busy work with our degree, and I'm like, ugh.
it's frustrating.
They just needed a grade they just needed us to do this for a grade, and it's like, ugh. So yeah, I as a former student, because I think I'm done with school after this.
Never say never.
I won't say never, but I need a couple victory laps.
Sure.
It helps to be on the other side, though.
Yeah.
It really does help to see that class environment from the student perspective and say, why is this in the syllabus, or why are we doing this? And I think that can make us a much better instructor.
Yeah, that's a good takeaway. You're right there and understand the frustrations of a student, and you know, so instead of creating busy work, or if you are, creating activities and things like that, letting them know why, and maybe even having them pick the activities themselves. If you're working on a podcast project, maybe there's a vote on what the actual project is. So again, they feel like there's buy-in into the curriculum, into what they're learning.
Y'all are giving me ideas.
Great.
Giving me ideas. So I might have to follow up with y'all after this episode to be like, hey, what do you think about this? But I guess continuing just with our scheduled topic for you, Dr. Davis, what would you say for students who may be curious about undergraduate research but aren't convinced that they're ready for it yet? Like they're still thinking about it.
Right. If they're still thinking about it, then I think they should come to our office, to the Kerr's office, and set up an appointment to talk with either me or our coordinator, Dr. St. Louis. And it's a really easy conversation to sit and have and let me pick your brain and say, well, why are you interested in that? Well, what professors' discussions have really, or what class discussions have really kind of made you excited? And so even if they're not quite sure what topic they're interested in, I can usually get to a few ideas for them and help match them with some potential mentors. And or say, well, come back and talk to me in another 4 months after you've done this and this, and let's just have this conversation again. And 9 out of 10 times the students are just so much more confident to say, I don't know what I want to do yet, or, oh, I know exactly what I want to do yet. But having a one-on-one conversation. There's nothing to lose. There's no grade. It's just me or hers just having a conversation with you about, what are your interests and what would you want to get out of it? And sometimes we can kind of help them navigate those answers if they can't quite put their finger on it yet.
That makes sense. And what about for you, Jeff, for faculty that may want to just maybe reimagine their course or just add some more, experiential elements to?
Sure. Well, we have a project request form on our website, which is augusta.edu/innovation, and they can go there and fill out what their idea is, and if it's implementing that type of thing in a course, we'd be happy to get with them and work with them, and if they have ideas, listen to them, and if not, work with them to kind of come up with ideas. We also offer monthly technology workshops online about utilizing technology in their courses, as well as the development of learning communities and things like that. So there's all kinds of ways that we work with faculty to basically enhance instruction.
Another question I had for you, Jeff, was do we do anything with virtual reality or augmented reality?
We do some in the CII with augmented reality. We're not doing a whole lot right now with virtual reality. I do know somebody that was in our unit for a while, Lindsay Steinberg, who's now the Director of Innovation with the Georgia Cyber Center. I think they do some things with virtual reality as well. But we do mostly things with multimedia and video production and animation and things like that.
Okay. I was just curious. And I guess for you guys, I'm always interested in hearing about the work that you guys do, but has your own experience, or how has your own experiences kind of been built into the roles that you guys have? I feel like you both have very interesting stories and experiences, and I'm kind of curious as to how you kind of build that out into the folks that you serve.
I guess having been in the classroom for many years, I do have a pretty good grasp on, I think, how students develop. I'm also a developmental psychologist, so my area is I really enjoy kind of taking a quick picture of where is this person in their cognitive development or in their identity development, and being able to help them kind of shape into the next step. So those, just kind of having a sense of what do people understand when they're 18 versus when they're 22, or if we have a returning student who's in their 40s or what have you, they're going to be accepting information and processing information pretty differently. And so I feel like my background in psychology has been extremely helpful in speaking with faculty and students and developing programming that's appropriate for them. At the same time, we're right now developing a lot of programming for our undergraduate research mentors. So the faculty who aren't necessarily with undergraduates all the time, maybe most of the time they're working with PhD students or MD students, and they haven't been around the 18 and 19-year-olds in a while, then I can also use that information to kind of say, sometimes you need to step back, and I can help guide them so that they become a better mentor and that they understand what steps they need to do to scaffold the information and the skills that the students are learning. So I think that that's probably the best thing that I take away from my history and experience as a faculty member in psychological sciences.
I think for me, I've always been fortunate to be working in some kind of creative field, whether it be like just graphic design or, now that I've been in higher education so long, kind of being able to work with faculty. And for me, I've always liked puzzles and problem solving, and I think a lot of what we do is creative problem solving. We have faculty that come to us sometimes with no idea at all about what they want to do, other than hey, here's a concept that maybe students are struggling with, or I really just want to increase engagement in my courses. And okay, well, let's get together. Let's be creative. Let's think. How can we solve this problem, whatever that is? And I think for me, that's what's exciting about what I do is kind of, I think, being able to work with others, and we have just a very great creative team, and so being able to bounce ideas off others and work with faculty and see them get excited about being able to increase engagement and things like that. I think that's that creativity, I think, is what I have brought from other places that I've been in my career, and just to kind of be able to see how implementing that and making sure that it lines up with whatever the learning objective is, but to kind of see that aha moment, or that to hear that students have really reacted to what we've been able to put together is really, really good.
So for any prospective students who may be thinking about choosing Augusta University for the research opportunities, or for any faculty that may think like, hey, this place really has it going on with all of the cool, unique learning opportunities, what would y'all say to the prospectives out there, prospective JAGs?
To our prospective JAGs, there really are so many amazing professors here. And you'll meet them in the classroom, you can meet them through extracurricular and co-curricular programs such as the undergraduate research or study abroad or that kind of thing. But our faculty, I hope, still have very high expectations and strong expectations for learning and performance, but most people don't stick around here unless they really love it. And so our faculty the ones that are here really, they're committed, they're here and they want to help the students. And so there's always support. And I think that's a huge thing in college.
Yeah, and I think just that this is a place where faculty are willing to think outside the box, and that we have a unit that's trying to create these experiences and things, and so they're going to come here and experience things in the classroom and outside the classroom that they probably wouldn't experience at other places. And so I think that's a good takeaway to that it's not just going to be the sage from the stage just lecturing, but that you'll really be able to get some experiential learning.
Well, thank you guys for both being here, for all the work that you do for our students and faculty, and making them the best that they can be.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I really did. I love talking to Dr. Davis and Jeff about the cool things that they are doing for the university, especially for our students and faculty in particular. And as an adjunct faculty member, I'm really excited to kind of pick their brains on some more ideas that I have for my podcasting class, and I really want to hear from you guys. So like, subscribe, do all the things to blow this episode up, and I'm curious to hear from you guys of what cool, innovative things have you found out that you love about the university, whether you're a student or you're an employee or faculty, whatever. I'm curious to hear those responses. So let us know in the comments. And until then, I will see you guys in 2025. So until then, go Jags.